Hello, 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 and welcome to episode 280 of Prog Review. And today, I'm talking about Radio K.A.O.S. Because what I thought I'd do is I thought I'd look at the solo works of the various members of Pink Floyd in an attempt to get you all juiced up for that new Pink Floyd record that's coming out on November the 10th, you know, The Endless River. So, that's it. That's the impetus behind it. I've explained myself. I don't need to go any further. So, Radio K.A.O.S. is the first one up by Mr. Roger Waters. Yes. I have fond memories of this, he says. I was there, I remember it. It was released on the 15th of June 1987. Again, I remember I was there. Personal story. My dear departed mother bought me this on, on cassette when it was first released. We're in Woolworths back in the day. She said, I'll treat you to a record, to an album. And I chose this one, the day it came out. Or at least the week it came out. It might have been a Tuesday, because I think we used to go to Baker's Arms on a Tuesday. Oh, those were the days. So she treated me to the cassette of the album, and I played it to death. Now my mother was not necessarily the most generous people in the world. She I wouldn't say she bought me loads of presents, but I held that as very symbolic action. She bought that for me, not this CD, but I'm just pointing to it, to gesture. She bought that cassette for me, and she also paid for my first CD version of The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. When I ordered it, I went to collect it, and she was with me, and she went, "Oh, I'll pay," and she gave me the money, and that was unusual. But she wasn't somebody that used to, treat me a lot, if you know what I mean. In fact, my very last Christmas present from her were 2 roll-on deodorants, which was her way of saying that I stank, and I put them in the bin, because that was the kind of fractious relationship we had. But enough of my personal life. Back to Radio K.A.O.S. So anyway, I had this cassette as a 16-year-old kid, and I very much played it to death, and really enjoyed it again, because there was no, there was I don't think there was near Pink Floyd wasn't existing at that point. So I think Pink Floyd had what was it? What's the one with the beds? Momentary Lapse of Reason. I think that was released in September. He said, "Let me just confirm that using the old Wikipedia." Yeah, it was. It was released on September the 7th, 1987, and yeah, my mum got me that on LP as well. She didn't pay for that. I gave her the money, but she was meant to get the CD version, and she bought on the LP version, which is a little bit annoying. But hey, that's the way things went. But anyway, back to Radio K.A.O.S, which I'm not talking about at all. So I had fond memories of this album, and I played it to death over the summer. It's very much it's a concept album. It's about a Welsh boy in a wheelchair, a bit like Stephen Hawkins, but without the giant brain. And there's a lot of strands running through this. There's about the miners' strike and, Welsh deprivation, because they closed down all the mines. There's that. There's the political climate at the time with, Margaret Thatcher, Ronald Reagan, threat of nuclear war. If that's what 4 Minutes is about. And there's loads of strands running through it. But I mean, it's not prog in the sense of the word that there's lots of difficult music or loads of long, boring guitar solos. It's very much a pop album. I mean, the opening Radio K.A.O.S. I mean, this is what I quite enjoy. Everyone moans about David Gilmour and his version of the Floyd, but if you listen to this is so utterly pop and middle of the road. It's I don't even know why it's called prog rock. It really musically it isn't. It's just a concept album, but done with a very much of a pop style. So yeah, it opens up with Radio K.A.O.S. Again, that's the name of the fictional radio station that the disabled boy phones into using his mind. It's cosmic stuff, and yeah, so Billy contacts. He's not a boy; he's actually a bloke, isn't he? He's about 23 years old. I was thinking of him as a kid because again, when I was listening to it, he contacts this radio station and talks to the broadcaster played by Jim Ladd, and yeah, so it's yeah, that's the story really. That's it. And well, anyway, there's more to it than that. Billy goes to America, sees what it's like in America, ends up accidentally triggering a nuclear war, or does he? And then it ends with the most amazing single, "The Tide Is Turning," which again, this album is something that's very, 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 very much of its time. Because again, it talks. It's a very historical album. Like I said, it talks about a lot of politics. Thatcher, Reagan, the Cold War, what was going on in England. Again, this is the stuff that was a lot of this was covered with the Final Cut. So again, Roger Waters is kind of reusing themes, but also bringing in this Welsh miners' strike. And yeah, I mean, I don't. Does it work as a concept album? Not really, because it kind of it's kind of a loose concept. It kind of hangs together. I mean, I like it because it really is it really is the poppy side of Roger. It really is him going for the musical, light weight kind of stuff. Again, I enjoyed it when I was 16. I listened to this last night, and it was like putting on an old pair of slippers. It was so familiar, and I remembered all the bloody words. It was frightening. It was so scary. Yeah, Radio Waves is again, that's the opening single. Is just, I think it's a great stomper of a record. Who Needs Information is another one. I think it's again strong stuff. Me and Him. Again, a lot of these songs have all those Pink Floyd inflections, the echoey vocals, Call and Return, the way Waters delivers them through delivers the vocals through gritted teeth, the powers that be. And then on the B side, Sunset Strip, not so good. Home, which is kind of the central idea of the album. Everyone's got a place to call home, whether you're from Wales or from Sunset Strip or wherever. It's all about feeling comfortable. 4 minutes, again, it's a ticking clock, the song is 4 minutes long, and it's about total nuclear destruction. And The Tide Is Turning, which is probably the most important, is actually, I think, is the most important song on the album. Waters reckons it's Home. Then again, the album was meant to be called Home, but it got mixed around. But yeah, The Tide Is Turning is all about what happened. I mean, it's got after Live Aid. It's all about what happened with Live Aid and how. I don't know if it's how naively. Again, we're looking with hindsight, but at the time, Live Aid seemed to achieve a lot of things. People mobilised and came together, and seemed to achieve something amazing against the corporations, against the global, backdrop. And and they were unified by a common cause. And again, that I think Waters saw this as a rallying cry, that the future would be politically we'd all be able to come together. And again, more so with social media and the internet, you'd think that more so we'd be able to be unified and take on people. And again, we're going back to, I'm going to mention bloody Russell Brand again, but this is that thing about people coming together and being unified, and you can change the world, but you have to do it small steps. There has to be a leader. Bob Geldof was the leader. He was the face of Live Aid, and all these people made small contributions and came together to make one big thing, and that's how you initiate change. But again, with hindsight, was Live Aid a success? Is the song rather rose tinted look back? Is it a work of someone being a little bit naive over the process? People are still starving in Africa. Is anything changed? Blah 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 blah. But yeah, I mean, as a record, what I like, it's 40 minutes long. Back in the days when albums were a nice length. And again, I'd walk around with it on me with me Walkman. Who remembers the Walkman, eh? Cassette Walkman. Oh boy, it's like an MP3 player, but you can only play one album at a time. And I'd listen to it, and again, it's not the greatest record in the world. I still like it a lot more than the Pros and Cons of Hitchhiking. Again, some of those, I know a lot of people like that album, but it's not something that I've wholly got into. Mind you, it took me a long time to get into Amused to Death, and the first few listens to that I didn't quite get, but I think that's a better album. But again, it's all about the lyrics. Roger's strong point is the lyrics and not necessarily the music. But he's got on Radio K.A.O.S. He's got a big old cast of characters. Graham Broad on drums, Mel Collins on sax. Mel Collins, King Crimson. Claire Torrey's back. She does backing vocals. Paul Carrack is on the album too. Andy Fairweather, Low. That's it. Loads of people. I'm not going to read out the whole list that I've got up here because I'll be here all day. But yeah, I mean, it's an interesting record. The thing I remember of the cassette is because it was black and green, green lettering on a background. You couldn't read the lyrics; it was very small. But the smell, I just remember opening the cassette and the smell of the print. Oh, it was just something that. Again, I'm thinking of it now. It just takes me back to a time and a place when I was a little bit more younger, had more hair, and the weight of the world hadn't crushed me. But those were good times. But yeah, so Radio K.A.O.S. It's an unusual concept album. One thing I forgot to actually mention this, and the main thing there's an element in it about, is it called in the song Me and Him? It's about talking about they drop a concrete block off of a motorway onto a car, and I remember being utterly shocked by that at the time because there were cases of this going on. In Wales there was a famous news story of somebody being killed by somebody dropping a concrete block off of a motorway flyover onto a car, onto a lorry or something. And I remember when I got this album, I listened. I thought it was the most shocking thing because Waters had kind of woven in this true life tragedy into an album. I thought it was a bit ripe. I don't know if I was just shocked or it was a long time ago. But that was an endearing memory of it. But I mean, some of the songs on there are really good. I mean, I do like. I don't know, 60% of the album, I think pretty good, solid, rock songs. Not prog. The only reason it's prog is because he glued it together. But, the concept's a bit weak. The production, I mean, unfortunately, the production is very 1980s. I don't mind it. It takes me back. But for some, it might stick out. It might stick out like a sore thumb. To me, again, it's very nostalgic kind of production. Again, if you compare it to the production on Momentary Lapse of Reason, that still sounds relatively modern compared to this, because some of the drums sound very mechanical. I mean, even though there are drummers on this, it does sound like some of it's got a drum machine on. But yeah, very 80s, but a good. I mean, it's Roger Waters having the most fun. There's a lot of fun on this. There's a lot of humour. A lot of sad stuff on it too. It's not all it's not all fun and games, but it's Waters playing around a bit. In terms of an actual rating, oh dear. I think I'm going to be generous, just for nostalgia's sake. Am I allowed to do that? Am I allowed to be generous for? Yeah, balls. Let's do it. I'm going to give this 4 radio waves out of 5. That's 4 radio waves out of 5 because it just takes me back to a time, it's just, and it is what it is. It is good fun, and I don't know. Where'd it all go wrong? I was thinking this morning because there was a strange quote from David Gilmour saying he's got no time in his life for Pink Floyd. Don't you think that maybe Gilmour and Mason should give the name back to Roger Waters now that they're not going to do anything more with it? They should just hand it over ceremonially, have like a thing at the at the at Wembley Stadium or the Olympic Park, and Gilmour and Mason should hand over the name ceremonially to Roger Waters, so he could carry it on if he wanted to. I'm just joking. I'm just joking. So anyway, that's it. That's it then. Yeah, that's Waters' second studio album out of the lot that he's done. I mean, he's only done. Is it four? 4 studio albums. It's not a lot, is it really? But anyway, fascinating record. Very much a thing of its time. Next up, I don't know. It could be Gilmour. It could be Mason and Fenn, because that's the only one I've got of theirs. It could be Wright. It might even be Barrett. You never. Oh, you see, mixing it up might be Barrett. You never know. You never know. So you better tune in to find out. My name's been Darren Rock. I've been talking about Radio K.A.O.S by Roger Waters, or if he was French, Roger Le. A terrible joke that was. And there's only one thing to say, and that is Prog on. Oh, dropped it. Prog on. Yeah, go on. Hey.